All right, Ruth Ann, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, you're quite welcome. Just so everybody knows, Ruth Ann's been stressed out all day. It is Thursday, and we've got a million things on our mind. And Ruth Ann's stressed out, but all you drivers out there, we know you guys are probably more stressed out. I seen the ice storm. Ruth Ann, Dallas has been under ice all the way over to Memphis, Tennessee, and truckers are wrecking. There's a picture going around on Facebook right now. It's insane. It was on Talk CDL, and it's reached over 2 million people, and a Peterbilt, the entire cab was knocked off.
I seen that. I was trying to see if it was Photoshopped because it just was like crazy.
Yeah, it wasn't Photoshopped. It is the real deal, and it's crazy. So the truckers' stress right now is probably high.
Do you see Wyoming keeps shutting down the interstate too, also because of the pileups that keep happening up on there?
Well, I know Pennsylvania, everybody's shutting down. A lot of drivers are telling me that this is the worst ice, the worst winter they've seen in a long time for ice and everything.
Well, they just said that the deadly pileups just are happening continually over there in Wyoming.
Yeah, it's bad, and when the ice gets down as far as Texas, it's bad. I was talking to one of the carriers over there in Dallas, and they said that it's supposed to thaw out a little bit today, and then tomorrow it's going to be back down under freezing, which, to be honest with you, sucks. So let's get on with the show here.
Let's get on to something that doesn't suck.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, let's do it. All right. So a couple things. But boom. I wanted to mention. Actually, I want to mention something first.
He don't have attention deficit at all.
I don't really go by like any order of anything. Okay, just being honest. Okay, so
Squirrel.
There's a squirrel. All right, no. I am the guy that I'll be talking and a little fuzzball will roll by and I'm like, hey, check that out. All right. So anyways, back to the show. Trucking. So I posted a post this week, and I just want to talk about this for a second. I don't talk about the Facebook page that much, Talk CDL's Facebook page, because that thing is gigantic. It's huge. Like 400,000 truckers on there. It's crazy. And so I thought, all right, I'm going to play around a little bit. And I got a picture of a truck stop bathroom with a shower and a toilet and stuff on it.
Oh, use both sides.
Well, that's what I was going to say. So I posted I want to explain it so people that didn't see it understand. So on the picture, we implanted a little sign on the wall that said, "Attention truckers, to save on toilet paper, please use both sides." I mean, honestly, would you take that serious?
Well, I know you, so.
No, I said, would you take it serious? Like, if you've seen the picture, would you take it serious?
No.
Or would you think it's a joke?
I think it was a joke.
Well, I mean, it's pretty much, what truck stop would actually tell you to use a swipe and then flip it over? Anyways, so we got a couple people on there that got all serious, right? And they're going, that is Photoshopped. I know it. That's Photoshopped. I'm leaving this page. That's it. They're putting fake stuff up. One or two people wrote that, right? So I put a little note on there. I said, to everybody that's saying that it's Photoshopped, I wrote, duh. I mean, honestly, how could you not realize that it was a joke? Which, some people get all serious. And then we had people that got a little crazy thinking that the truck stop was serious. And then, so they started really yelling, this is BS. How can a truck stop ask you to do all that? You know what? I'm just going to bring my own toilet paper and blah, 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 blah. I mean, this is legit. Some people, so, I would like to say to those people, duh, also. Are you with me?
I'm with you. I'm just flabbergasted.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was, just I wanted to just talk about it for 30 seconds for those that really are probably, calling their wife at home or whatever, Or maybe the wife seen it while she was sitting on Facebook saying, honey, you ain't going to believe this. Make sure you start taking your own toilet paper into the truck stops, because they're now asking you to use both sides, and that's just nasty.
It is nasty. But I think my mind's going like 5,000 places.
Yeah, I mean,
I guess when I'm thinking of it, I'm thinking of the people that all this stuff that you want to get hyper over and think that they're being right on. This is plain. You could tell it's a joke.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, Ruth Ann. So, but anyways, guys, it's a joke. We're moving on. Couple things that I wanted to talk about today. How about we mention our sponsors real quick, just for a second. National Carriers out of Irving, Texas. Call them at 888-311-7076. If you are looking for a regional job, an over-the-road job, a trainer's job, or a team job, or a solo job, or a lease purchase job.
Job.
Exactly. Well, National's got it all, and they got them big blue KWs, and it's 888-311-7076. And if you guys don't want to be up in the north right now, they got Southeast and Southwest regional runs. Also, moving on to the next sponsor, Carter Lumber, Ruth Ann, www.carterlumber.com/TalkCDL. They have 160 plus locations east of the Mississippi, and they have local Class A, home every day for drivers that are experienced, drivers that are students, just got out of school, and they also will take a driver that does not have a Class A CDL or a Class B CDL and put them in a non-class vehicle to work as a driver. Also, they'll take Class B drivers. So check them out at carterlumber.com/TalkCDL and fill out the little form. And last but not least, Drivewyze. Drivewyze will get you bypassing the scales today. They're app-based. You can't ask for a more simple one. And if you already have a transponder and you're using the competition, call Drivewyze, and I will guarantee you, especially if you have a lot of trucks, and even if you have one truck, tell them what you're paying. I almost can guarantee you Drivewyze is going to make a deal with you, and you will be able to save money and bypass the scales probably in a matter of minutes. Check them out at Drivewyze. That's DRIVEWYZE.com. Ruth Ann, here we go. Onward with the show.
Onward.
Are you with me today?
I am.
Because, I mean, be honest, you were a little stressed out a little while ago.
No, yeah, no, I'm.
You get stressed out when we got a million things to do. I get stressed out when we got a million things to do. And then next thing you know, you're like, I'm looking over and you're like off in La La Land. So are you here? Mm-hmm. Are you here? Mm-hmm. Yay. So what do you want to talk about today? Got a couple things.
Okay, let me hear them.
Well, how about this? Actually, one of the main things I did want to talk to all the drivers about today is this. A lot of drivers are looking for new jobs right now because what's happening is the companies that are on spot market, which is the broker side, if they're relying on broker loads right now, chances are you're sitting a lot. I mean, it's the truth, Ruth Ann. Freight volume is down, is no secret, and there's a lot of companies out there lying to you and telling you that you're going to get 1 million miles. And I personally know a bunch of these companies, Ruth Ann, that are on the spot market. I know them personally, and they're all the same. In fact, I know companies right now that have 50 to 100 trucks. They are literally not hiring. Okay, and then there's companies that are panicking because they're losing drivers. And here's what's going on. A lot of these companies that were paying about a year ago, they were paying 70, 80. I even heard of 85 cents a mile for solos and teams. A lot of them have dropped their rates down to paying drivers 60 to 65 cents. Have you heard that?
I heard that some of the companies were dropping their rate again, like their pay rate. I did hear something to that effect, similar to what you're saying there. So it might have been exactly what you're saying. I just didn't have all the pieces together.
Right. There are a few left that are still paying maybe 70 cents, but the drivers that go to a company right now that's getting 70 to 75 cents, those drivers are legitimately not running. Their miles are down. I was talking to a guy in Houston yesterday, and he said he went to this company up in Chicago, and they told him 75 cents and a Kenworth T680. That was what they told me he was getting. In fact, they told him, because he wanted a stick shift, they told him a 13-speed T680 he was getting in 75 cents. When he got there, they told him it's 70 cents, and they put him in a Freightliner instead. So they're baiting people in. That was number one. And this guy said he's already quitting. He's already taken the truck back to them just because he said, look, I've been here 2 weeks. 2 weeks. And he said, once you start lying to me like this, it ain't going to stop. So he's not even going to give him a chance to, give him a Kenworth now, because he was told he would have a Kenworth when he got there, and it was 5 cents a mile less. Another guy I was talking to, he had been with a company 90 days, and I guess he said they told him in the beginning that he signed a piece of paper stating that if he doesn't maintain, how can you as a company expect somebody to maintain a certain amount of miles for the last couple of years? And again, I'm not here to pick on any certain politicians, okay? I'm just saying to see the bad times and the first to see the good. Mm-hmm. And so right now, it's definitely bad times when it comes to freight. In fact, there are some companies that have their own freight, or they have guys listening to us right now are shaking their head. Yes, correct. I'm starving. I'm hearing it everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, the paycheck maybe $700. So, where do we go from here? I would say if you're looking, a lot of them are like, well, my company's still giving me 70 cents, 75 cents. Okay, yes, I'm sure some of you guys are getting that, but let me tell you what's going on. If you're with a company that has 50, 100, 200 trucks, here's what's happening. The guys they're hiring now, okay, that are coming into your orientation this coming week, they are not getting the 70 to 80 cents. Mm-mm.
No.
Now think about this just for a second. Now I want to show you how this works. Let's say you're still at 70 to 80 cents a mile, and you pitched the fit and told them if they drop your rate, you're going to quit, right? Mm-hmm. And to be honest with you, I probably would do the same thing if I was a driver with them.
I think you would.
Okay, and I'm a bitcher. I ain't going to deny it. But here's the thing. And we shouldn't be bitchers. But here's the thing. Your company probably told you, or you probably told your company, if you drop my pay volume, my pay rate, I'm going to just go somewhere else. Okay. So the drivers that they're hiring in now, okay, because there's drivers quitting your company because they're not getting runs. So to replace those drivers, they're bringing guys in that are at least 10 cents a mile less than you. See, they don't have to tell the new guys that they're going to get 70 cents a mile, because what's happening all over the country is the companies that were at the higher rate, as they lose drivers, they're being replaced by cheaper drivers. Now, watch this example. Are you watching? Okay.
Where am I watching?
We'll listen to this example. Okay. Now, you're still at, let's say you're a driver, you're at 70 cents a mile, or let's say you're at 75 cents a mile, right? Okay. And let's say you're sitting in, I don't know, for the heck of it, let's say you're sitting in Houston waiting for a load. And let's say that one of the new guys also delivered in Houston, and he's sitting there waiting for a load, but he's at, say, 60 cents a mile.
Okay.
Okay, now let's say dispatch finds 2 loads. Okay?
Okay.
One load is going 1,000 miles. The other load is going 500 miles. Now listen to this. Let's say, or actually my question would be, what load do you think dispatch is going to give you with the 70 cents? And some drivers might think, well, that's because I'm a better driver. I'm going to get it there. They know it. They're going to give me the 1,000-mile run. Wrong. You know that, Ruthann.
Well, I'm going to assume that it's not like the 500 miles isn't like a sliding scale. Like
No.
Okay.
There's just let me just finish this part. Hold your thought for 1 second.
It's really hard to hold the thoughts.
Oh, do you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
You can if you want.
I'm just.
You got it? You gonna hold it? We're in Ruthann's mind right now.
It's already gone. Okay.
There it goes.
It's the fuzz. It's the fuzz you're gonna chase later.
I'll be like, hey, Ruthann. Dear. Okay. But anyways, so now think about this. The guy with the 70 cents, here's what they're gonna do. I promise you this. they're going to give you the 500-mile load.
Mm-hmm.
70 cents times 500 is $350 it costs them to deliver that freight, okay, for the driver. If they gave you the 1,000-mile load, it would be $700 to deliver that load. So they're going to now give the 1,000-mile load to the 60-cent guy. That's $600. Say they have to pay for these 2 loads in driver fees. It's going to be $600 to get the 1,000-mile load delivered, and it's going to be $350 to get that load delivered, the 500-mile load. So $600 and $350 is how much? $950 total it costs to deliver those 2 loads. Now reverse it just for a second in case you're thinking they would give you that load. If you're the 1,000-mile guy at 70 cents, that would be $700, and the 60 cent a mile times the 500 miles would be $300. So guess what? That's a $50 savings. And I know you're thinking, well, that's not a whole lot. But
no, it is when you look at it going against maybe 20 other drivers.
Exactly. If you did it 20 times a day, okay. And it's not just that. I mean, there's plenty of times where, the savings is a couple $100. They're definitely not going to feed you. They know to do this. In fact, a lot of their computers are set. A lot of their computer systems are set up to tell the dispatcher, give this guy the load because it's going to cost us less in driver pay. So now you end up with the 500-mile load. The cheaper guy gets the 1,000-mile load. If you have a company that has 100 trucks or 200 trucks, in a day's time, they may save $1,000. They may save $10,000 a week just shifting loads around there to the longer loads going to the drivers they're paying less money. And if you think I'm BSing you, do the math on 100 trucks or 200 trucks or 1,000 trucks. That's how it works, drivers. If you're at a company right now where you think you're Big Daddy because you're getting more than everybody else, I promise you, those guys that are getting less, they get offered way more freight than you, and that's the way it's going to work in a dead freight era. Trust me.
That's why I was kind of being a little goofy saying, is it on a sliding pay scale?
Exactly. No, it's not on.
Because they're not gonna do that. The only thing I can say that I don't agree upon that was mentioned was the fact that the drivers that had the higher rate, 2 years ago, how they were bumping them down, and the companies that they were.
Well, I don't agree on it either. They shouldn't do it, but they can't survive without dropping them down.
I know. I just don't like that. Yeah, I think it does suck.
It sucks to see these guys losing. But here's what it comes down to: when you're down to $1 something a mile on the market right now, $1.50, $1.90, even $2 a mile, a trucking company could barely operate with the cost of fuel, insurances, and everything until they pay the driver. They're really not making a whole lot of money. So trucking companies are trying to find ways of cutting costs, and driver wages is the first thing they're doing. And I understand. A lot of you guys are saying, well, I'm going to go somewhere else. Well, most places you go to right now,
they're all the same.
They're going to be lower. They're not going to offer you the money you're making at your company. It's just math. And like I said, if a company juggles you guys around with your different rates in just one day, they save a lot of money during the day. And over a month, they save a lot of money doing that shifting. Give the longer run to the lesser paid guy. I promise you that's going on just about everywhere. And your best bet right now, truthfully, and you guys might not want to hear this, and Ruth Ann, I know you don't want to hear this because you said you don't want to see these drivers losing their wages like what they were making a year or two ago. They're losing. And I get it. I'm with you. I don't want to see any drivers' pay go down. But the best thing a driver could do right now is find a company that has freight. Maybe you take a little bit less on the mileage rate, but you find a company that has contracts, and there's an old saying, miles mean money. And I know some guys go, well, I want to work smarter, not harder. Well, right now, finding a giant rate and making that same kind of money isn't happening. I'm not saying one or two of you ain't making that. I'm telling you, 99% of you guys are not making it, and it's tough to find something. Go ahead, babe.
It went all away. I mean, I honestly had like 3 different things I was going to say, and I was being nice, not cutting you off.
You should cut me off.
I'm going to have to, because my mind does not want to keep it. It just wants to go.
We're not just talking about driver wages going down.
No, I know. We were talking about that.
Come on back.
It doesn't want to stick with me today. I think because I've got my mind on so many different comments I want to make on how it sucks. And then you made a comment about how to go with a company that does have its own freight. And then my head went, oh, no, I caught it. It said, I was thinking to myself, and then the drivers want to go home every weekend. So what happens is the drivers that want to go home often and to get home every weekend, and the freight being as low as it is, they're really not making anything. They're going to have to start letting up on the home every weekend just to try and go to a company that does stay out maybe 2-3 weeks at a shot, but they have the freight, but you have to stay out a little longer. You're going to have to compensate. Okay, right now everybody's freight's low, so I'm going to have to go to take these runs that are
some weekend runs.
Yeah, just to try and compensate, because if not, you're not going to be making any money whatsoever. And yes, coming from the at-home part of it, the wife does want to see you. The kids do want to see you, but they also want to eat. They want new shoes. They want, summer's going to come on. They're going to all want to do a vacation of something. Things are going to have to still keep going. And you're going to have to say,
that's right.
You have to make that choice, unfortunately, but nothing irritates me more than a man that has to say, I got to go home to be with my wife. Yes, I agree that. I'm a wife. I know that. But I also know bills got to be paid. And if I can't, I never had a problem with you staying out. When you would call me and I had plans.
Yeah, if it was tight with money.
Yeah.
What you're saying is you don't like when a man says, I'm going home to my wife no matter what, even if I'm behind on my bills.
Exactly.
That's what you're saying.
That's what I mean. A wife will respect you more if you pay the bills. That's what she's expecting of you. If not, then she's going to have to get a job, because you're going to have to, you can't have it all.
And listen, I tell you what Ruth Ann just said, drivers and you bring up an excellent point on how a driver can really boost his income right now in tough times. What Ruth Ann was really saying is, drivers, you're in survival mode right now. Okay, when times are good, you can pick where you want to go. You can pick when you want to be home, and you can make super money. When freight is high and companies are like screaming for drivers, okay, then guess what? It's a lot easier on a driver. Mm-hmm. But right now, it's not that way. And so trucking companies, they don't want... in tough times, they don't want their trucks sitting 8 days a month when the truck could actually be bringing in money. And so, like Ruth Ann said, maybe at least for the time being, if you can take weekend runs, take them.
Yeah.
My advice is find a company that's not running spot market freight. And there's a million.
That's what I was saying too.
Right. And like I said, and I'll say it again, you may take $1, you may take a few pennies less. You may even take 10, 15 cents a mile less. But at the end of the week,
you're still making that money.
Right. At the end of the week, if your paycheck is paying the bills, I talked to a driver the other day. He said he left his job because he ain't making the money. I said, well, when did you leave your job, brother? He said, November. Right. I'm like, dude, any paycheck is better than none. Mm-hmm. You're sitting at home, and he's now broke. They're behind on their rent. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I got to get out there, man. I'm really dying here. And I'm thinking, but he's holding out for these great paying jobs. I said, dude, take a freaking job until they're back. Yeah. You're in survival mode, man. What are you doing?
And the thing is, it's not just the drivers. The whole country's in survival mode. The whole country.
Exactly.
So your freight, all the Gucci toys and all the fun stuff that people are not buying right now.
Gucci? That's expensive.
I said Gucci.
Oh, Gucci.
Yeah, the Gucci. Not the Gucci. No.
Right.
So those things, when we walk into, I'm going to just say we walk into Target or Walmart or whatever as mom and the little kids, and they're all like, I want this, and mom's going, no, we can't get that stuff right now. So in return, you're not shipping that stuff right now. So all those fun things are not going because of the fact that right now everything's tight all around. So as a driver, when you find a company that has their own freight or is, has awesome contracts to where you know they're not going to lose that contract, that contract either was just re-signed or whatever the case might be, but you know you're not going to be stopped. Take those weekend runs. Start banking a little bit of money, because what's going to happen is if something happens and you want to go home and spend some time at home, you're not at least going to be like, hey, we can't do a thing. No, we're not going to get McDonald's because McDonald's costs $45 now for 4 people to go and eat, that kind of stuff. You don't want to, no.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, again, I just wanted to bring that up because I know there's some stubborn drivers thinking that they're going to find the great paying job right now. And again, I'll say this, right now, 60 cents a mile, 55 cents a mile, whatever you're getting, if you're getting miles, okay, and consistency, that is, making, say, $1,500 a week minus taxes. I'm just throwing a number out there, right? Consistently every week versus looking for that job where you're going to bring $2,000 a week home and starving trying to find that. In the long run, remember when the tortoise and the hare raced? Mm-hmm. The tortoise won because he was consistent pacing, just doing his thing. The hare lost because the hare was just trying to make it all in one shot. So it's the same with trucking, guys. Be careful. Find the job that has freight. And I would say get away from them spot market jobs right now. Moving on. Hey, you know what's funny? I seen this thing on this article, actually on CDL Life. And it's quite hilarious. I wrote some of the questions down. It says FMCSA is asking the public for comment on how to regulate self-driving trucks for the autonomous trucks.
Read that again to me, please.
The FMCSA is asking the public for comment on how to regulate self-driving trucks. And so they ask the questions, and they're expecting the general public to put their answers in what they think is a great answer. And it said on January 31st, the FMCSA issued a supplemental advance notice of proposed rulemaking requesting input on how to establish regulatory framework for the ADS equipped CMV operations. And it's basically, you remember there's level 1 through 5. The level 4 and 5 are the real expensive ones where they don't even need a driver, right? So they're asking the public what their opinions are on these questions, and they're concentrating on these 3 things: whether motor carriers should be required to notify the FMCSA that they are operating without a human driver in the truck. Okay, they're also concentrating on how to regulate remote truck drivers. A remote truck driver is basically somebody sitting at home on their computer playing war games on the internet and monitoring the truck. Okay, and then how to handle pre-trip and roadside inspection requirements for autonomous vehicles. Because obviously there's no driver, so how are they going to handle these roadside inspections? So here's the questions they ask. I wrote them down. I just wrote a few down so that we can just, have a little fun with it, okay? If I can get it. All right, here's the first question that it's asking the public for an opinion. Should FMCSA require motor carriers, trucking companies basically, all right, of level 4 and level 5 autonomous equipped CMVs to notify the FMCSA before operating those vehicles in interstate commerce without a human being driving behind the wheel? If so, what potential methods or procedures should be established to notify the FMCSA of those operations? So here's the basic question. If you're a trucking company and you buy a autonomous truck that doesn't require a human in it, they're asking, should that trucking company have to notify the FMCSA that, hey, we've got a driverless truck and it's going to be operating on the interstates? What would your answer be?
Yes.
Mine would be duh.
I also think, I'm going to go another step further. See, I know that I've heard when you purchase certain vehicles, those vehicles, like if you go and get a brand new car, what's the first thing they do? They notify. First, you have to show insurance and so forth, but it's notified that you have this other vehicle, if you don't inform your insurance company, the DMV or someone they notify the insurance. So somehow it's out there to other people that you've got this vehicle. So I think when you sell a vehicle, say Choice Trucking just bought a level 4 from me, I think it's my responsibility then to inform the FMCSA that Choice Trucking DOT number blah 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 has just purchased this vehicle, just in case Choice Trucking wants to be a little shady and not really notify many people that he's driving that tractor.
And
not driving that tractor, I should say.
I like what you just said. That it's almost like how the clearinghouse works now. At one time, if you failed a drug screen at Uncle Joe's trucking company, right? Uncle Joe can hide it, right? He could literally hide that and not report it, right? That the companies relied on Uncle Joe to say, yeah, he failed a drug screen with me, and sometimes Uncle Joe didn't do that. Now the DOT doctors that are administering the drug screen, if you fail it, they are required by law, or they'll lose their practice if they're illegally not notifying. So you're right. It would be better if the dealerships themselves were made to send in a form stating, Choice Trucking or whoever just purchased this autonomous vehicle is going to be operating it. And I like that. I'll tell you why, because when I read that first question, I thought to myself, what about these fly-by-night one-truck companies, or these companies that have 5 and 10 trucks? That I'm going to tell you something, because I talk to a million companies every week, and one of the biggest issues trucking companies have with small companies, like, for example, when they go to get a reference from a company, they'll, like, say a bigger company will call a smaller company, like somebody has 10 trucks, and they'll call that company and they'll say, we need a reference. They'll never call them back. They won't answer their phone. They'll never send the reference back because they're trying to hold the driver hostage so he doesn't quit the job, or they just take it personal and they don't want to even give the driver a reference, even though if the guy actually worked for you for a couple of years. That's somebody that's not working compliant with DOT regs. So what's to say that small company would be compliant with an autonomous truck in their midst?
Right. No, I agree with you. My favorite, when I had to do verifications, when I would have a driver I was trying to get verified.
Right.
There was a gentleman I remember. I don't remember the company, but I just remember it was a man that I had to speak to that owned it. And I said, I need to get this verification. He goes, okay, yeah. And for 2 weeks, he kept blowing me off. And by regulations, I only have to try and contact 3 times. So I would contact or try to contact 3 times. So this is before that regulation actually really came into a good factor. He sat there and I said, if you don't get this to me, you only have 30 days. If you don't get it back to me, you are going to be in trouble with the FMCSA. And he just laughed at me.
They do. They
laugh. And he's like, what are they really going to do to me? Like, they're going to chase me down? That's the attitude these little guys have. What? I'm just a little peon in their big world. What are they going to do? But I also have another idea with the autonomous truck for the person, the teenage kid out there driving, the Rebecca's going out there in these autonomous vehicles. I think they should have the autonomous vehicle have like maybe not a placard, but a big sticker on the side of it to warn people that there's no human in that truck.
I 100% agree with that. I was thinking about, do you remember when we lived in FMCSA and that guy came around, the police were going around knocking on doors, and they were handing out a picture of a predator, a child predator that was moving into the neighborhood. And I thought to myself, it sucks to be that child predator, because no matter where he goes, most of the times police are going to knock on the surrounding doors and say, this is who's moving into your neighborhood, and you have a right to know who is living near you, okay? And I thought, that's a great thing. Well, I agree with you. The same thing with an autonomous truck. The public, the motoring public, has a right to know that there's no human in that. I don't want to be in front of him when I come to a red light, just in case case one of their wires crosses and they don't stop and run over me. Yeah, I understand that sometimes a trucker, runs over people and kills them. But I think a trucker, when he realizes he's in error, he's trying to correct it, where an autonomous vehicle, once it goes haywire, it's going to plow. I believe can you imagine what the amount of money they have to have on reserve for the lawsuits? Because we all know things are going to break, and there's going to be crazy. I believe some of the accidents are not going to be little. I think you're going to see some crazy, huge damage and death that they're going to cause, because when the computer chip fries, okay, and all of a sudden they know there's recalls on this thing, and the computer chip fries coming into, like when you're coming into a town on like maybe not an interstate, but like a highway that's, say, 70, like for example, Dothan, Alabama. There's towns like that where it's a 4-lane highway and the truck's coming in, and guess what? There's red light now. Not like on an interstate, there's not a red light unless there's like a backup, then they have to stop. And that's another thing. Some of these autonomous trucks, when their wires fry on them, they're going to just, without even trying to correct it, and once they start rolling over people, they're not going to try to hit the brakes. They're just going to go through things. So I'm just saying that, yes, I agree. That big sticker on the side of the truck saying no human on board, that is something that 100% these people should be taken into account of. Let's move on to the next question.
I had more scenarios in my head.
Yeah, I know, but like we can play out a million scenarios, but I got a bunch of questions that they're asking you, the public, what your thoughts are on. Here's the next one. It says, what data should the FMCSA collect and maintain regarding a level 4 or a level 5 autonomous equipped CMVs engaged in interstate transportation ? And then the follow-up question is, how would such information be used, and how would it improve the FMCSA's ability to oversee the safe operation of a level 4, level 5? So it's just asked, what information should they be collecting? Okay, what data should the FMCSA collect? Okay, on these 4 and 5 trucks? I got a million pieces of data it should be collecting.
Everything, just like they would on a driver.
How about failure? I would say all the failures. Where is it failing? Where is it not doing well? Where are the very close calls happening at? I mean, there's a million things that they should be compiling data to either correct it or get rid of it.
Yeah, no, it needs to have all of it. They need to know when it slows down, how far back from coming to a stop is it starting to slow down? How many near misses? How hard is the braking system being engaged when it's coming?
How's the equipment holding up? Right? How's the chip holding up?
I mean, I think with a lot of the electronics, though, the unfortunate thing is it could be holding up 100% and then all of a sudden it just fries. So, I mean, you could start carrying data on that particular chip number, the ID number, on how many failures it keeps having or something to that effect. But
we have pictures and videos of tractor trailers that get hit by lightning. How's a power surge going to be when they get whacked by a lightning bolt? That's a good question, right? Mm-hmm. Is that going to render it to where it just rolls until it hits something? I mean, who knows any of those? But there's a million things that is going, there's going to be so many scenarios that happen. And I don't want to be the guy that's in front of that truck. I really don't. I don't want to be listen, we all know this. In the beginning stages of most things, there's a lot of correction to be made. I don't want to be the guy sitting in traffic in front of that vehicle or even riding beside it.
You don't want to be one of those datas.
Yeah, I don't want to be the data it's collecting. You're right. How about the next question? Okay, here's what it says. The next question says, to what extent should the federal motor requirements otherwise applicable to the CMV drivers, such as hours of service, drug and alcohol testing, and physical qualifications, also, listen to this, also apply to the remote assistant who is not expected to take control of the dynamic driving task of the ADS equipped CMV operating at level 4. So what they just asked is the guy that's sitting at a remote, maybe at a trucking company, or he's sitting at his living room monitoring a tractor trailer going down the road. They're asking, should this guy be also required to have a physical? Should he also be required to observe, no more than the certain hours of service as a trucker does today? And should the remote guy also have to do drug and alcohol testing?
100% to all of that.
I can't even believe it's a question.
And here's another thing is, honestly, if you're going to have a remote driver, what you need to do is, I'm sorry, how many times do you fall asleep watching TV, even if it's one of your favorite shows?
Hello.
So if a driver's sitting in a vehicle and all they're doing is watching the truck go down the road, they're going to get tired. They're going to get fatigued. They're gonna go to reach for their drink or go to grab that bag of M&Ms and it's going to roll or whatever the case might be, and they're going to look away. And they're going to look away when they're supposed to be remotely driving.
I got something else that the remote driver. First off, I don't think there should be remote drivers, but I got something else he should be.
I don't believe in autonomous. So
here's something else a remote driver should have is an inward facing camera.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So that the company and everybody else that's monitoring, like at a casino, there's somebody watching the players.
The pit bosses.
There's somebody watching the pit boss. There's the manager's watching him, and then somebody's watching the manager, the overseer. Everybody's watching, and then like they said on casino, and then there's the big brother, the eye in the sky. All the cameras all over the place. Everybody's being watched, and I would tell you if there's a remote operator somewhere else other than in that truck, he should definitely be being watched, okay? And here's what I picture. Think about this. Our two sons playing Call of Duty, right? And then, oh, wait a second, guys, I'll be right back. I got to go check out this Peterbilt that doesn't have a human in it, but I almost forgot. We're in a bunker here in Call of Duty. Wait, I got to switch screens.
No, man, you can't leave right now.
Exactly.
Dude, no, don't do that. You're going to kill us all, dude.
Yeah, I picture that. I picture a bunch of kids that are on the computer playing war games, checking in on the tractor trailer every now and then.
Well, what I was saying is when, they're going to be distracted and stuff, they should have like a simulator where they're sitting in a truck seat, it is set up as if they're in the cab of the truck, like a simulator. And like you said, the inward-facing camera, it's sitting there.
Yep, absolutely.
And they're being monitored to make sure that they're doing their job. Because if they're at home, do you know how many people, the employees that were sitting at home, that they realized that, no, this is really not working out for our company to have these people sitting at home doing nothing. They need to start coming into work.
By the way, this is Talk CDL's bitch session. We're bitching and moaning right now about this, but I mean, if I'm being honest though, some of the questions actually irritate me that they would even have to ask the public should they be doing this. I mean, it's kind of weird that they would ask that. Here's the next question. Okay, it says, what if any aspects of the remote assistant? Now we're still talking about the remote control driver at home, right? What if any aspects of the remote assistant job function may require an FMCSA oversight, including minimum standards or auditing, example, training, physical qualifications, and other job performance related measures. Please provide rational and evidence for the recommended manner of oversight. I mean, come on, man. Should
do the people
physical qualifications? What do you think the physical qualifications should be of the remote guy?
First of all, he should be able to stay awake and not have narcolepsy. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
How about
his sugar? He should be. I don't want to say that they cannot be diabetic because I think they could still function being diabetic. But I think that if they're one that has to wear a
I mean, he should have the same physical qualities as a truck driver.
Yes, he should. That was what I was trying to actually get to.
Right. I mean, it shouldn't be any different. But at the same time, I believe this guy should be probably at a higher standard of education.
I think that if you are a at-home remote guy, I think that some of the physical, like if they are, like I know
And training, it asks, what kind of training should he have?
I think what I was going to earlier say, well, don't the people that are flying the spaceship, the different ones, don't they have a lot of stuff they have to go through? I don't think it should be any different.
Well, that's my whole point.
I think the only thing I think that should be allowed that isn't really as much allowed now is if they are like, I think that if you are in a wheelchair, that would be something that
he should be fine.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're not getting in and out of a tractor or something like that. So physically that way, they should be. I don't. Now we don't have many drivers that are in that kind of capacity.
There are some that don't have legs, and they're awesome. Drivers.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's some of the capacity that should be fine.
But definitely, you should definitely have to pass a stringent physical for eyesight, for ears. Yeah. And you definitely have to understand computers. As far as training goes, I would say if you're a remote guy, there's got to be some crazy backup generators and everything just in case your internet goes out. I mean, if you're going to be remote on internet, I would almost think that you almost have to have, like, for example, whatchamacallit, I can't think of his name, Elon Musk, he's got that new Starlink, right? And they said that the Starlink is amazing, right? It's the old internet thing that like camper drivers would have, where it's called the HughesNet, which was a nightmare. And they said this new Starlink, you can get internet out in the wilderness. So I would think that something like that, plus a backup internet like Tyler has, you should have a great internet system. And then on top of it, I believe you have to have a backup internet and all kind of generators in case power outages, the whole 9 yards. Because if you're the guy, if you're the guy remotely taking care of this, and then all of a sudden your screen goes out, something happens, and your computer should be up to date. You should probably have to have new computers every 6 months to a year with the latest. And then on top of that, there should be somebody in another remote area.
It's just going to be cheaper if they just stop doing the autonomous and just keep going with regular people being in them.
Let's say you were the remote person, okay, and let's say that you literally were in your remote area let's say you were in Tampa, right? And you legitimately were sitting there, and all of a sudden power outage, your screen goes out, and you don't have, your backups are down, everything goes. Automatically, somebody else in another remote area, maybe 500 miles away, where power isn't going out, should definitely be able to pick up the ball instantaneously and go with what you were monitoring. They should all be trained to be able to go, okay, truck number blah, 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 we're able to pick this thing up and just run with it and safely handle it. I'm just saying there's got to be a lot of safety nets put in place, especially, guys, I'm going to say this, especially in the beginning of this autonomous garbage. To me, it's garbage. And the reason I say it's garbage, I'm not against technology. What I'm against is when technology takes human beings out of the picture. And listen, they've all been saying it. This happens, it's going to affect jobs. I don't care what anybody says. Let's move on to the next statement. The next question it asks, Ruth Ann. It asks, are there any qualification requirements that FMCSA should consider for remote assistance? Again, the guy sitting at home, such as related experience as a CDL holder. Mm-hmm. So now they're asking, should the guy sitting in his living room remotely controlling a tractor trailer, okay, that's never going to get in it, should that guy have CDL experience? Should he actually have driven a tractor trailer before, or should he at least maybe be put through trucking school? I'm a firm believer that everybody in the trucking industry, Ruth Ann, should have at least got in a truck and went for a ride. I don't care if you're the secretary, if you got a female driver, you should be put in a truck, right, Ruth Ann? Mm-hmm. And maybe at least experience one overnight trip to where you've at least walked the shoes of a trucker. Right. So I almost think that these remote guys should actually go through a school and maybe even go through a truck driver training period with a trainer and put in at least some time there to see exactly what does go on out there to to at least get a view on everything. What do you think?
No, I agree, because there's going to be circumstances where you only would have been able to handle a situation if you were physically in that at one point or another.
Yeah.
And someone that has no experience whatsoever in the trucking industry or on the road or driving will understand the instinct or even the reaction that you would need with those types of situations.
Well, for example, I understand that it's monitoring, they say 1,000,000 times faster than a human eye, but the instinct of a good trucker, he can see something. He can see when there's BS coming, where the autonomous truck, all that's doing is monitoring for anything, where a trucker can go, okay, I see somebody a quarter mile behind me driving erratically. Okay, that's potential trouble. I don't know that the autonomous truck is checking a quarter mile behind it for somebody that's swerving in and out of a lane, driving erratically. Just saying little things like that, okay?
Exactly.
Where if a guy that's sitting in a living room where he maybe at least was made to walk the shoes of a trucker for a second, I think it would help. So yes, I would agree with that. He should definitely help. Next question is, are there any specific limitations that should be imposed on the working conditions of a remote assistant, such as limitations on the number of autonomous CMV tractor trailers that a remote assistant is simultaneously responsible for, or the number of hours that a remote assistant may work? So what it's asking is should there be a limit? Okay, if you're a remote driver sitting at home, should you be able to handle 30, 40, 50 trucks at a time? Yeah. Should there be a cap on it? Because what if, think about that, you're a guy that's monitoring 15 trucks, and all of a sudden you have an issue with 3 at the same time.
Right.
How are you to handle that?
No, I think that the
one guy.
Exactly. The person that's at home being an remote assistant needs to be as if it needs to be the same qualifications, everything. If it was a driver sitting at home,
one truck,
if you're going to take the job from being in a tractor from a driver, you need to put the driver involved in that job.
You gotta ask that question. You have to, especially in the beginning stages of this. What if I'm a remote driver and I have a multi-safety issues that I've got to take? How do I take control of more than one truck at a time? You know, you might want to just get the guys that are experts on Call of Duty.
You mean that the 8-year-olds and the 12-year-olds that are like now can multitask better than anyone else?
Because honestly, 5-year-olds might be better. Hey, and then it also asks about the hours. And so I think we kind of answered that before, that he should be definitely monitored hours that he's working.
Yeah. There should be no more lacks that you would have on a driver sitting in the seat versus a driver that's at home monitoring. It should be the same everything.
So one last question it asks about the remote assistants. It asks, are there any other considerations? Do you have any other considerations that the FMCSA should be aware of relating to individuals who may function as a remote trucker, a sit-at-home trucker? Is there anything else that the FMCSA should be aware of other than the examples and the situations that they've already brought up? Is there any other things? I tell you what, honestly, I think that it should definitely be any job in the autonomous industry. I don't care what position you have. I believe it should be 10 times more stringent than any trucking company or truck driver right now, only because it's more than anything, because it's in the beginning stages and it's really a scary thing.
It's just kind of an odd question that they would just go through all of that and then they say, by the way, did you forget anything? Well, that's what it reminds me of. It's did you forget to say anything, or is there anything else you want to add to it?
You know what that tells me? That tells me they're not sure of everything. I'm serious. It tells me that they're saying, let's get everybody's opinion in case there's something. Well, I got to at least handed to them for wanting to get everybody's opinion for the simple reason somebody may bring up something valid that they never thought of. And now they go, wow, I am so glad we asked the general public. Here's the next question, Ruth Ann. It asks, should level 4 or 5 ADS or autonomous equipped CMVs be subject, you ready, to pre-trip inspections requirements for their mechanical and their ADS components, in addition to those specified in 49 CFR 392.7. So should they be inspected beyond the normal, including those which might necessitate new inspection equipment before such CMVs are dispatched and our specified period of operation? If so, what methods should be used to conduct these additional inspection items? What equipment components should be inspected? What documentation should be required and should be responsible for conducting? And who should be responsible for conducting those inspections, and what qualifications or specialized training should be required, and how frequently should additional inspections be conducted? Now, let me tell you my answer real quick. Tyler, our son's getting his pilot's license, right?
Correct.
And he bought a plane. And those planes, after I think 100 hours, I think it's every 100 hours, you have to pay, I think it's a couple $1,000s to take it to a third-party specialized inspector that's now going to go over everything with a fine-tooth comb and replace anything that needs to be updated. I believe, in addition to the regular post and pre-trips that a tractor trailer goes through, including on these, the autonomous components, I believe there should be an additional stringent third-party inspection per unit for every so many hours. Like if they know, okay, certain things need to be changed every 300 hours. Right. Well, then I would say that just like a PM where they change the oils every so many hours or miles, I would say it should be a special inspection for every autonomous vehicle to be done by an outsourced party that can't be bribed, that gets paid a lot of money to say, okay, this thing is up to par. I put my seal on it. This goes beyond the inspections. I say every 100, 200, 1,000 hours, whatever the case would be. That's what they should do. Would you have anything additional to that?
Yeah, you know how your computer will go through its little scans every, like before when you would have like Norton or anything like that, it would be automatically always scanning. Well, I think also every evening there should be scans done to make sure that the chip is in perfect performance, that everything is performing great. And I'm sorry, if it's computered, you're going to have one smart person, deviously smart person out there that will be able to break into that computer system to give it a little virus or to try and take control over it in some form or another, because those people are out there doing that every single day. And it doesn't matter what it's for. They just, their mind can do that. They just want to keep expanding themselves to where, challenging them. So they're going to be out there. It's going to be a challenge for them to break into an autonomous vehicle and take over it, or do something crazy, or give it a virus. So yes, every single night your truck needs to be plugged in and it needs to be scanned and make sure that there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
So it asks, it also goes into asking, I'm just kind of going to throw a couple questions all together in one shot. It also asks, ironically, should there be roadside inspections, like regular truckers get, right? But how would you do that? You know what I mean? So obviously you would have to have it to where the remote driver is communicating with any cop, that a cop can ping the remote driver somehow, and the remote driver would pull the truck into a roadside inspection. But it then goes on to ask, it says, now listen to this question. It says, if level 4 and 5 ADS or autonomous vehicles equipped CMVs are not subject to state roadside inspection, how would law enforcement agencies and motor carriers ensure that such CMVs are not used to engage in unlawful activity. Examples: human trafficking, drug smuggling, all that. That's an excellent question. So my thing would be, I believe that every truck should be subject to DOT pulling them over and looking inside that trailer. I don't care who the heck you are, and if you get the right people that get their hands on autonomous vehicles because they know, well, no, these things don't get roadside inspections. We'll just go ahead and use them for human smuggling. I would say that would be a downfall in the autonomous industry. That would be a black eye in the autonomous industry if your trucks were used, wink, wink, for illegal activity, knowing cops can't pull them over. Exactly. I would say if a cop or a DOT officer can't pull over an autonomous truck at the blink of an eye like they can anybody else, then I would say autonomous vehicles shouldn't be on the road. I'm telling you, that would be 100% my opinion.
What should happen is the manufacturers of the autonomous vehicle should be able to equip every police officer or DMV, anybody that to pull them over, the DOT and so forth. They should have a way to get into the system, like you said, to ping the remote driver, but to send like a call to them saying they could be able to do it in their truck. Like when they put their lights on, they flip the switch, the lights go on, the sirens go on. They should be able to hit the switch and it automatically notifies that tractor that it wants to pull over, because every one of the authorities have a way to get in there. Because think about it this way also. What if how are they going to know if a ambulance or if a fire truck is coming up behind them?
I don't know. I think they got that part worked out.
Okay.
But, it is what it is. I would agree with you on all that. If an autonomous vehicle can't be stopped and searched, it shouldn't be on the road. Right. It just really, that shouldn't even be a discussion. And if an officer tries to pull it over and wink, wink, it doesn't stop for the officer, I believe that company should be fined and maybe even have their DOT pulled, their authority number pulled to where they get suspended, especially if it happens more than once. And especially if they find illegal cargo on board. See, right now, if a trucker gets pulled over and let's say he's got, 20 pounds of cocaine in his truck, right? It's hard to go back and blame the trucking company because maybe the driver made a deal and he was using his company for his company's truck for illegal activity. But if you have a trucking company, somebody's got to bear the responsibility to what's in that cargo. So if, for example, the company or the shipper puts a load in a trailer and it's sealed, obviously the shipper, should be the ones responsible for the cargo. But if the trucking company doesn't cooperate, I would say responsibility now is going to be on their shoulders also. So if I'm a trucking company, I want DOT to be able to pull my truck over and inspect it because I don't know what the shipper put in that truck. I just don't know. I don't know if the shipper got bribed and is some illegal cartel or whoever is working with them and something's in the back of my trailer. I definitely would want my truck searched. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to have any red marks on me.
All right. So, Ruth Ann, that is the podcast for the week. Do you have a word of the day?
I do.
You have a word of the day. Is it a good one?
I think it is.
Yeah? You think it is? All right.
I try to pick good ones.
We're like over, man. We're an hour today.
I know. I was like looking, I'm like, oh, wow, we got really caught up in some of this.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that stuff is some pretty heavy debating, to be honest with you. Go ahead, Ruth Ann. Are you ready to do it?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's hear it. Word of the day.
Malik.
Malik?
Mm-hmm. Malik.
Go do it one more time.
Malik.
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 All right. What is how do you spell it? M-A-L-I-C?
Yep.
Okay.
It's pertaining to apples. It's pertaining to apples, or of or pertaining to malic acid or its derivatives.
I wonder if it's the acidic stuff that comes out of an apple. Is that how they make? I don't know. I'm just guessing. You got the definition? I don't want like a 30-second pause here.
It's pertaining to apple. It's just
That's all it says?
Yeah. Here's the examples and sentences. Though there were no fruit in the pastry, the cream filling still had a malic flavor, apple flavor. Some of the tartness in apples is due to malic acid, one of their dominant flavorings. So it's
basically the flavoring.
It's apple. Mm-hmm.
It's apple.
So like if you had I guess.
So if you eat like a piece of candy that was apple flavor, you could just say, oh, that's malic.
Yeah, it's kind of malic tasting. It's got a little bit of a malic taste.
We're out of here.
Peace.
Peace. Praise the Lord.